All right, let's make it happen here. Okay, so today we are going to be asking the question. Now that the January 6th hearings are in a thing of the past, at least until September, we're asking the question, do you believe the January 6th event in regards to President Trump was a nothing burger? Is there essentially nothing there? Is the hearings and all that has ensued from the hearings just simply a waste of time? Or is there something there as opposed to no there being there? So is there something there? Do you believe that this was even a course of action that should have been taken altogether? Some would say it's a waste of money. Cole Miller, you're saying you do believe it is a nothing burger, because that is what we're going to be talking about today. And I guess the follow-up question is going to be, why would so many members of Trump's inner circle just make up complete fabrications about the former commander-in-chief? And does that make any sense? I understand there are folks who did not like Trump from day one. I understand that. That's part of being a politician. There are folks who didn't like Bush, who didn't like Obama, et cetera, et cetera. But why would so many members of his inner circle just make up, just simply make things up out of thin blue air? Now, folks in the comments, looks like Anthony, Ryan, and others are saying that potentially they were paid off. Well, wouldn't you have to see evidence of that before automatically discrediting them? Not to say that what you're suggesting may not be true, but would you not first want to see some evidence that members that have reached the elite level, these folks are working right alongside the president. Wouldn't you want to see some type of evidence in regards to proving that they had been compromised in regards to money and power? Make no mistake about it, every single person that's involved in this that is testifying against Trump, they're receiving death threats. Their political careers, for the most part, are over. So it would have to be one hell of a payout. That's not to say that that's not possible. That's not to say that they are not receiving a payout. But would you not want to first see proof before just automatically assuming they're on the take? Trump for prison says, wow. Cap Z34 for Trump. It's hard to say. It's not going to be easy to even charge, much less convict, a former commander-in-chief, particularly one with the amount of adoration. And I understand there's plenty of people who do not like Trump, but there's also a lot of adoration for President Trump. Make no mistake about it, this is going to be part of American history. There is a lot of adoration, a lot of folks who admire this man. So it's not going to be easy to try to convict President Trump. And, the notion of seeing this guy in an orange jumpsuit and things like that, coming from your humble correspondent, I still believe it's a fairy tale. But it's still developing. They will resume in September, and we'll see what comes out of that. Feel free to come in the box. We can talk about it. For those who are listening, that is the question today. Do you believe January 6th was a nothing burger? In other words, Trump did nothing wrong. It was a waste of time to even investigate this. We should have moved on January 7th and acted as though January 6th simply never happened. Okay, looking at the comments. False adoration says, I can't argue whether somebody adores Trump from a genuine perspective or whatever reason they like the guy. But make no mistake about it, it is still overwhelmingly predicted that if Trump is on the ballot, the Republicans will give him the nomination. Call it whatever kind of adoration you want. He is still the projected winner of the Republican Party to be the nominee for president. The state of Georgia will prosecute. We'll see. And New York. And I believe Arizona. There are irons in the fire in multiple states. And that's in addition to whether or not Merrick Garland from the federal government will go after them. So there are at least three different entities in behind the federal government that may or may not come after Trump. Let's see here. Just wait. It's going to be Mirror. I don't get that comment, Edge 25. They've impeached Trump twice and failed both times. He's untouchable. John Mort, that does appear to have some validity to it. He may come across as a Teflon Don, but keep in mind, Al Capone was eventually convicted of tax evasion. He beat a lot of shit. He beat a lot of raps. When you think about the type of lifestyle that Al Capone was involved in, blamed for everything from the St. Valentine's Day massacre on down, he got convicted of tax evasion. So, and by the way, tax evasion is a charge they're going after Trump on. So keep that in mind. I don't want to sound comical, but tax evasion is on the rap sheet for what they're going after Trump for. It's on the docket, rather. All right, looking at the comments again here. Biden crime family, mic drop. Look, I'm not here to try to pretend like Hunter Biden is some saint. I do believe where there's smoke, there's fire on Hunter Biden, but I strongly believe because Hunter Biden is not on the ballot, the moment his dad steps out of the presidential arena, the Hunter Biden stuff will go away. If Biden runs again in 2024, which no one expects him to do, yeah, then Hunter Biden's shit will continue to progress. But if President Biden states that I've decided I'm not going to run for whatever reason, I can guarantee you, if he hasn't made a deal in regards to his son, you know, if I don't run, leave my son alone. Either he'll make a deal like that, he'll issue a blanket pardon for his son, or they just won't fuck with his son entirely because his son's not on the ballot. Now, I'm not saying that his son is innocent. I do believe there's real, genuine shit on his son. But it's not going to be that important anymore once he's no longer running for president. Very similar to how crooked Hillary Clinton was allegedly being accused of. Now that she's not in line to become president, nobody's pursuing her at all. And she was actually deeply involved in U.S. politics. Hunter Biden is nowhere on the scene. It's just his dad they want. Okay, looking at the comments. Maxine Waters is inciting insurrectionist words too. Yeah, I'm not, once again, when it comes to Maxine Waters though, nothing resulted from the words of Maxine Waters that compares to January 7th. It's just like that. Let's see here. Straight, let's see. Do you think that Trump started the insurrection? George Sherry, no, he didn't start it because he wasn't even involved in it. But I do believe without Trump, it would not have happened. Straight white male, talk to me. Good afternoon.
Did you see the news where Nadler said what he said about veterans?
No, key me into it. What are you talking about?
They're trying to pass a bill, and he said veterans are a danger to society.
What is the context of that? Is he
Because
just go
because
ahead?
we these and some of us got PTSD and things of that nature, and now we're a danger to society.
Wow. Well, let me say it from this aspect. First of all, that statement is awful. But at the same time, if there is an excessive amount of veterans with PTSD and they are doing things that's harmful to society, technically, he's correct, even though it's something you should never ever say out loud. But technically, if you know if you know there's a large amount of veterans with PTSD and they are doing things to harm society, it is something that must be addressed. You just can't let this continue. You get the point?
The most harmful thing they're doing to society, in my opinion, would be is they're unaliving themselves at 22 a day. I think it's 20 a day now. I don't really see how that would, harm society other than they're taking their own life. But I'd say that's pretty messed up that they went overseas.
Well, I will suggest this. There's a lot of veterans with PTSD that have committed some pretty insane acts when it comes to domestic violence and their partners too. They're not just taking their own lives. There's plenty of murder suicides that has come at the hands of folks going through PTSD as well.
Oh yeah, most certainly. There's a few cases of that, not to the extent of 20 a day unaliving themselves.
Right, right, right.
It,
Well, here's the take. Here's the point I would say on that. What he said was horrible, and I would totally understand any veteran that would be pissed off at him for saying that. However, I've also suggested that when Trump said my war heroes don't get captured, that was equally as offensive to veterans, and I got a lot of pushback from MAGA suggesting that there was nothing wrong with him saying that.
hmm. I disagree.
Yeah.
I disagree.
Do you think what he said was offensive as well?
Well, I am a veteran with PTSD, so yeah, yeah, I'm very offended because I went overseas and fought for everybody's rights to include mine. So that dude can kiss my lily white
No, no,
ace.
no. I get that. I get you have a legitimate gripe at him. But I'm asking you, when Trump stated that his war heroes don't get captured, do you consider that offensive?
No.
If you're a PO, if you are a prisoner of war, a former POW,
Do
and
you
you
know?
hear the president say you served in the military, like you said, you served in the military, fought for everyone's freedom. You happen to be captured by the enemy, and you got a president stating that if you are a POW, you are not one of my heroes. My heroes do not get captured. You don't see any offense at all to that.
No, because and I'm pretty sure I know what he was talking about. He was talking about that guy that walked off the base and then intentionally got captured, and also after doing that, he got a lot of soldiers killed because they went looking for him in operations. And
Okay,
the
he didn't say any of that. He was talking in reference to John McCain. All of the stuff that you're adding,
John
none of
McCain,
that ever came from Trump. You're just kind of interpreting it that way. He never clarified it like that.
uh, I ain't got much good words for John McCain either. So
All right, and I will tell you this: the politician you're talking about that said veterans are a danger to society. I can almost assure you there are people in his family, in his inner circle, that could defend his comments the same way you're defending Trump's.
I don't much care for Trump either. So
But you don't find his comment. I agree. I understand that, but you said you don't find his comment insulting to POWs. And I'm saying that there are folks that could look at what that guy said and also twist it or interpret it in a way that they would say they don't find it insulting to veterans.
well, if you get, I've been to combat 3 times. If you get captured, you're doing something completely irrationally stupid, in my opinion. But
What if you just were given bad orders by your commander, or better yet, the other side just got the jump on you? You think
absolutely,
every single Iraqi soldier that we captured was doing something stupid? Not a single one of them was patriotic to Iraq.
absolutely, I would love to answer that. Have you ever
Sure.
heard of? Have you ever heard of the word or the terminology unlawful order?
Yes.
So, in other words, essentially what I'm saying is if a commander tells me to run my head into this wall, I'm going to tell him to go F himself because he's stupid. So therefore, because it's unlawful, I can respectfully tell him to do that. Go F himself because that's stupid. I'm not going to do something stupid and get myself caught. Same concept. There's no difference.
Well, it's not. Sometimes you don't know if what you're doing is stupid or not because you don't have all the intel. If you
Wow.
get, for instance,
That's not
here's a
don't
good.
that.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Here's a
Don't,
good example. Wait a
don't
minute. Hold on.
that.
When they said that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction,
That
the
was
average
dumbass Bush.
soldier.
That was
What'd you
dumbass.
say?
Make sure you elaborate when you say that. That was Bush that said that.
I said they. I'm not even. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
I know you
No,
said they. That it
right.
wasn't
I'm
they.
just
It was
simply
Bush.
saying. I'm just simply saying. When you get orders that came down from the Pentagon, because they say, like they said, Bin Laden. They told the Navy SEAL Team 6 that Bin Laden was in the house. The SEAL team didn't know if that was true or not. They don't. You're going based on orders. You may be being given stupid or dumb instructions, and you don't have enough information to know that or not. You
Absolutely.
can't. Yeah,
Information.
so you can't say you automatically know if you're getting dumb instructions or not. You may not
Yeah,
know.
you do. If you have like that's like saying you're calling every soldier in the military a dumbass. I like really. I mean,
No, that ain't
uh,
what I'm saying. Is if they tell you fly your aircraft to these coordinates and bomb something that's there, you have to trust them that those are the right coordinates. You don't know if they're giving you the wrong shit or not till you get there.
do you
You
know?
do not know that.
Look, do you know how many, not just how many people, officers, like these are people who went to college and so on and so forth. I was one of the guys that trained them land navigation. Some of them can't even land nav. It's you'd be
Okay,
surprised.
but that's not what we're talking about. What you're suggesting is that every single service personnel in the military has enough information that they could never make a dumb decision unless it's intentional.
Absolutely. If you're not getting the only way you should end up a POW is if everybody in your unit gets wiped out because you're overrun, and then they for whatever reason keep you alive. That's the only reason you would ever end up a POW in my mind, from my experience through the military with 3 combat tours.
So all of the POWs that have been captured throughout Vietnam, World War II, and all, and they were all just doing dumb stuff.
That's what I just explained. The guy in the chat said explain an ambush. That's exactly what I just explained.
Yeah, but if you get involved in an ambush, once again, if intelligence comes across that they have a platoon coming this direction, we need to send you guys to take them out. And you get there and find out the intelligence underestimated the size of that group. You're doing something dumb, but you did it based on intelligence. How do you not know that you can't know what the information coming down the wire to you if it's correct or not? There's no way for an average soldier to know that.
There's no information that they ever give that is correct 100%. I mean, that's just asinine to think that they have every little detail. I mean, for example, the first time in Afghanistan when I was with 10th Mountain, we got into contact into a firefight. We didn't know the details of what, like every little detail, but I ended up, I was leading, uh, finding this guy, trying to find this guy, and they called me back. I was pissed off about that. That's neither here nor there, though. I wanted to catch this guy, and they wouldn't let me. That I found his transportation. They wouldn't let me do anything to it. After the guy just shot at us, and then anyway, ended up leaving. As I'm leaving, he gets on the freaking motorcycle. You can hear him take off, and then I find his little, one of his weapons caches, but
Yeah.
it's all.
Okay. I get. I don't want to go too long. So I just want to clarify your point again, though. So you're saying anyone who gets captured is in the process of doing something stupid.
If they just walk off like oh dude in
I
Iraq
mean,
or
just period. I mean, people
and
get captured under all sorts of different circumstances.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean, if you get captured in an ambush, like you're overrun, then no, you're not a dumbass. I don't guess. I mean, man, for me personally, I wouldn't get captured. I'm not going to get captured. That I mean, I'm going to do everything I can to end the enemy's life. I mean, that's me personally. So
okay. All right.
the only
Okay.
way I get captured is body bag.
All right. Okay. A shout out to Rambo. Listen, I got to move it on, though, man. I appreciate you coming through. We just have a difference of opinion on that, but you're always welcome back, man.
All right, man.
All right. Appreciate it. Okay. Now, he's the only one. He is not the only one that has that mindset. Whereas Trump suggesting that his war heroes do not get captured in regards to John McCain being a POW is not insulting the POWs. He doesn't believe it, and a lot of other folks don't believe that either. But I had to ask him, and I wanted to ask him a few times because I wanted to clarify what he was saying because it did sound a bit out of the ordinary from what I normally hear from most veterans. But I gave him a chance to double down and triple down, and he really believes that. So I had to ask him. All right, looking at the comments, poor little Tink Tink think he Rambo. Oh yeah, Rambo got captured. Yeah, you're right. Rambo did get captured. I think Rambo got captured in a few of those movies. That is correct. Trump didn't do anything for those 3 hours. Case closed. And that's what we're asking. Is January 6th a nothing burger? And it does appear as if they showed evidence that during the protests, during the breach of the Capitol building, insurrection, whatever you want to call it, during that time, Trump was not taking much action at all. Now, I understand a lot of my MAGA folks, my beloved MAGA audience, and make no mistake about it, follow the channel. This was a MAGA-friendly zone. Despite the name, despite the conversation, I don't ban MAGA. I don't prevent you from speaking here. Come in the box, you can say whatever the hell you want. But during the time this was taking place, it appears as if Trump was doing absolutely nothing. So I understand a lot of my MAGA folks believe that it was Nancy Pelosi's job or whatever the case may be, but it does appear as if Trump was doing absolutely nothing during that time period. So this is what we're asking. Was the president, did he have any duties to do anything to stop this stuff? Going back to the box.
Hey, what's up, handsome liberal? How you doing?
I'm doing good. In yourself?
You've been on my channel before, and I thought I'd pop in because I wanted to just make the claim. I think that the people who should be watching the hearings the most aren't watching them, and these hearings are going to be a litmus test going forward of who are the salvageable, redeemable, sane Republicans versus the wackadoo Trumpists. And, I could sit here and list 10 charges that he should be brought down on. Everything from witness tampering to manslaughter. And, for people who think that January 6th was a nothing burger, y'all should be put on a watch list as potential future domestic terrorists, in my opinion.
Wow. Why do you say that?
Well, because because they're defending the indefensible. They're pretending like they're patriots, but no self-respecting, self-proclaimed patriot would dare allow a sitting president to coordinate a coup on our democracy. And if they want to claim that they're patriots, in my opinion, most of them are just racists hiding behind their racism. Is being hid behind patriotism, and we all see right through it. So, my tolerance for Trump supporters is waning fast.
Yeah. I will say this is that regardless of how folks feel about January 6th, you should at least watch the hearings to see what they're presenting. Now, here's a good example. When taking it to a different level, when George Floyd got killed, there was no shortage of folks suggesting that he was a bad guy. Candace Owens did a whole video on the fact that he had a lengthy rap sheet. However, just because he was a bad guy does not mean he was not treated properly. So the point I'm trying to make is you can mistreat somebody wrong that still is a genuine bad guy. And that's what I'm suggesting with Trump, is that even though folks believe, well, there's no counter witnesses and things like that, just because you think he's being mistreated in regards to the January 6th hearings, that doesn't mean he's not a genuine bad guy. And the evidence coming out, I'm suggesting that, everyone should have at least watched that and then made an informed opinion based on what they actually saw, as opposed to, as of January 7th, he did nothing wrong. I don't want to see anything else. Get my point?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And here's the thing is, they want to say that it's all a witch hunt. They're going based off what Trump is telling them to think about it.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is these are all Trump's appointees. These are all Trump's men testifying under oath. And, again, people in your chat that are getting really triggered at me, you're exactly the type of people that I'm talking about. You're the people who are defending January 6th and holding Trump up as though he's some sort of orange superhero, when he's going to go down as a shit stain on this country's history. And the people that support him at this point are going to go down along with them.
So do you think he'll be on the ballot? Man. You think he'll be on the ballot for 2024?
Hell no. Hell no. I'm hoping that he's going to be serving 2020. I hope he's going to be serving 20 to 24 is what I hope for.
I'm going to tell you from my own personal analysis, I try to be fair. I've watched most of the hearings, and I don't think he's going to go to jail. I think that's a fairy tale, but I will say this. If we were watching this in regards to a foreign leader that we did not know, we did not have any prior opinions of, I think he would probably be viewed as guilty by about 99% of society. The only reason folks are favoring Trump is because they had a preconceived opinion of Trump before this took place. But when you look at the fact that so many members of his inner circle are testifying against him, it is hard to just write
Yeah.
all of them off as being bought out or corrupt. Like this many people. So that's where I have a problem with.
Yeah. Well, I think that at this point, we're going to have to charge somebody. It may not be Trump. This is, he is a rich white man after all, and we're in
Giuliani.
America.
I
So I
think
don't, but,
Giuliani is definitely going to be in the
well,
crosshairs.
well, I think Bannon, I think Roger Stone, I think a bunch of, but we've got to put some higher ups that coordinated this coup in prison, because if we don't, not only does that tell future domestic terrorist pieces of shit that want to try this kind of thing in the future, it's also telling foreign enemies that we are not going to, do what. I mean, he would be in front of a firing squad in some countries because of this what he
Wow.
did. And I mean, I just don't tolerate anybody who downplays this in the least. Anybody that supports Trump at this point, you're a deplorable human being, and I hope that you're eventually
Well,
ostracized out of society and out of the
don't use
political
the word
discourse.
don't use the word deplorable. They like that. Let me ask you this question. In the comments, Gelfrey said if it was an insurrection, where were the guns? Now I have an answer for that, but I'm gonna let you take it. If it was an insurrection, where were
Uh,
the guns?
First of all, I don't believe that they didn't have guns. I think every single one of them had a pistol under their jacket. We don't know that, and the reason why we don't know that is because Trump said to take the mags away. After all, they weren't there to hurt him, so he didn't care if they came in with weapons. And if you don't think that baseball bats and flag poles with pointy ends on them, and bear mace and cops equipment and barricades and pieces of glass aren't weapons, well then you're deluded. The Oath Keepers stated that they thought that Trump was going to deputize them and create martial law. You don't think they had access to their weapons in a quick hurry minute if Trump gave them the go ahead to be that
Well,
militia that they thought they were going to be deputized and being?
yeah,
Come on
it,
now.
it,
You got
fair
your
point.
people are nuts if they
Fair
don't do
point.
that.
My answer to that question would be if you watch the January 6th hearings, you would know that they stated that the Secret Service told Trump there are guns in the crowd. We can see them. And Trump
Yeah,
responded, they're not here to kill me. So when you
exactly.
ask where were the guns, the Secret Service is testifying that they actually saw guns in the crowd. So that would be my answer
Absolutely.
to it. Yeah.
Absolutely,
All
they
right.
did. Yeah, no.
I get your
And let
point.
me just make one more point. If I could just
Go
make one
for it.
more point to the morons out there who said, "Oh, well, they were just let in." Well, then why was Ashley Babbitt shot in the neck by being pushed through a broken window? All right, that's all I got to say, bro. Have it. Thanks for having me on.
Wow.
Appreciate you.
Wow. Come on back anytime. Okay, listen. Just like the previous caller, there was folks who disagree with him. There's, hey, like I said, always free speech. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. MAGA friendly audience. I don't ban MAGA. By the way, folks always ask me, as a liberal, why the hell you like talking to MAGA? Because I do believe that they don't get a fair play in the media. Not saying that I think they're always right, but damn, ever since I started talking to MAGA, I've even faced more censorship. So I will tell you, I agree to some degree that the media does not like MAGA, but I do. Fuck them. Let's move on to the next caller. Censored Patriot. I think I just saw Lars in.
How's it going?
Censored Patriot, talk to me. What's going on?
Oh, that Sharon lady. I've gotten into it with her before, and I don't understand why would you sit there and call people names like that? It's ridiculous.
Let me ask you a question before I'll let you continue. You mentioned, do you support Trump? Are you MAGA?
I do support Trump, but am I going to vote for him in 24? Probably not, because it's
Okay, the reason I asked you that is because your first comment was about how you don't like her and why would you call people names like that? You do understand Trump is known for calling people names, and you stated you did support
right.
him.
I mean, I support him. Do I support everything he's done? No, I don't agree with him name calling.
Okay.
I don't agree with the majority of things that comes out of his mouth. What I agree
All
with
right.
are his policies. A lot of his policies are what I agree with.
Okay. Well, I'm just simply saying that the name calling is probably why you don't still have him in office giving you those policies you enjoyed. So whether it's you or whoever else that, because you're saying you don't support the name calling, but make no mistake about it, there's a lot of Trump supporters that did support the name calling, and they tend to have a difficult time understanding why he's not in there for a second term. And
Oh,
I would submit to you that the name calling is the reason.
I 100% agree with you. I think that him running his mouth is what cost him the election.
Yeah, and let me say this, because somebody said this in regards to Dominion or how the election was held. Let me make this point to you. Nobody is hating $1.50 gas, a great economy, or really good jobs numbers. So whether you believe Trump was voted out of office or it was taken from him, it's for the same damn reason, because of what he was doing. They either took the election from him or they voted him out of office for the same reason. He was being an asshole. So you can throw that up there, but like I said, his mouth is the reason why he's not in office. It's certainly not his legislation, not his policies, and not his agenda. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I agree. I think that if had he stayed off of Twitter, he probably would have got reelected, more than likely.
I do too. I do too.
But to me, like the whole January 6th committee, I would watch it, but then you have the left news organizations that do not call out Jane's revenge, that we're trying to go and unalive our Supreme Court justices,
Yeah.
going out to their houses, posting their house addresses. I mean, why are they not getting prosecuted? Why are their names not being thrown out there like everybody from January 6th was?
And I'm aware of Jane's Revenge. I did a show on that, but I mean, I'm willing to entertain calling out absences or things that are being overlooked on the left, but that has to be done on a separate playing field. For instance, if you are taken to jail for, reckless driving, pointing out that your neighbor drives 50 miles over the limit to work every day is not going to get you out of that court case. I would suggest deal with Trump and also push to get actions taken in those directions. But, the whataboutism while you're actually in court dealing with a case is not going to save you. And that's kind of what they're using in defense of Trump. Well, what about this other thing or that other person that got away with something? And no court of law works that way.
Well, I mean, honestly, from my point of view, I think that the people that actually destroyed property during January 6th, broke windows, punched officers, they should go to jail, because that's not right. You don't do that. I 100% believe in that. But I think people that were just there getting charged and thrown in jail, that's kind of ridiculous, because
What
our
about
money
the
is
what
coming
about
back
the notion? What about the
for that.
notion of yelling? What about the notion of yelling fire in a crowded theater? And the point I'm trying to make is it appears as if Trump knew the election was not taken from him. It's certainly not to the level that he's stating. He's not saying the election was not held properly. He's saying he won by a landslide. And there is absolutely no evidence. Even if you watch 2000 Mules, they're not even presenting evidence that Trump won by a landslide. So what about the notion that he has all these people in front of him thinking he won by a landslide? And to this day, even with his folks who are defending him, no one has any evidence to show that that happened by any means at all.
Well, I mean, honestly, you got your crazies on both sides, and
Yeah, but he's the
I don't
president.
even deal
He's the president
with the
saying he won by
conspiracy
a
theories.
landslide.
Well, and I mean, honestly, I don't see any evidence that he. I think that there was things that happened that were wrong, that I question myself. Like, I don't know, like the whole governors changing voting laws,
Okay.
signing executive orders, their voting laws, that goes against their own state constitutions. I
Okay.
have an issue with that. I have an issue with them pushing the days that they can count ballots, because in Pennsylvania, they push it from that Tuesday all the way to that Friday. That's where I have an issue with
Okay. Well,
election.
let me ask you in regards to that, because Texas sued Pennsylvania for that change you're talking about. Pennsylvania claimed they made those changes from COVID. Texas and a few other states stated that that was unconstitutional. I'm not here to argue that, but what about the notion that the governor of Montana stated that we also made the exact same changes as Pennsylvania, but they're not suing us because the Republicans used those changes and they won in my state? This is what the governor of Montana was saying. They're not suing us because Trump won here, but they're suing Pennsylvania. What do you think about that?
Well, I think they're all corrupt. I think any state that changed their laws due to COVID, all of them should be sued
Okay.
for it. Every one of them should. It shouldn't matter who won or who didn't win. If you illegally change your laws, you should be held for it.
Well, don't you believe in states' rights, though?
I do believe in states' rights, but even those states are violating their own state constitutions. Because I did research on every single battleground state that got sued. Every single one of them changed their election laws against
Okay,
their
but
own state constitutions.
so if you think someone done something wrong and you sue them, there's a process for that, right? You take them to court.
Right.
So
And
if the court rule, and if you take them to court and you lose, you take them to appellate court, you lose, and then you can take it to the Supreme Court and they have a choice to hear your case or not. After that, you have to accept the results. Isn't that the way our system is set up?
well, that's how it's supposed to be. I mean, that's how I look at it. Was if it happened, it happened. There's nothing that anybody can do to change it.
Yeah, but
Let it go.
the point I'm trying to make is he got his day in court multiple times. He lost. Yet he's still coming out and saying he won by a landslide and holding protests. I mean, does not go against the system we've had in place from the founding fathers since the very beginning? You get your day in court. If you lose, you get your day in appellate court. If you lose, you get to submit it to the Supreme Court. He went through the entire judicial process and he lost. And it appears that he just simply is refusing to adhere to the judicial process.
Well, I think a lot of the gripe that he has, and a lot of us believe, is you have these judges with all this pressure from the mainstream media, social media, everybody sitting there pushing on them, saying, if you accept this, then you're corrupt, and we're going to ruin your lives. Because the left has proven time in and time out that they are very good at getting what they want. If they don't like you, they're going to blast your name all over everything and ruin your life. So these judges said, I'm going to take a bullet for it
Okay,
and say, screw it.
but if they said they're going to take the fall for it, nevertheless, even if what you're saying is true, and by the way, a lot of the judges that went against Trump are judges that he himself personally appointed, including the three of the Supreme Court judges that would not listen to his case. But the point I'm trying to make is, regardless if you think the judges are caving to the liberal media or not, you have to adhere by their ruling. You can't just simply say, if this judge doesn't rule the way I want, he's corrupt and bought out, I want another judge. Everyone that goes to court and loses would say that. I mean, at some point, when does the judge's ruling stand?
Well, my issues with the judges' rulings were they didn't even look at the affidavits that were signed affidavits that if those people lied, they go to jail. That's where my issue was. They didn't even want to
Okay.
look at anything. That's the only issue I have with it. Had they
But
looked at it,
did the judges break any? The question I'm asking: did the judges break any laws? I understand you don't like the procedures they did to come to their ruling, but did they do anything that is illegal for them to do?
No, it's
Okay,
their
then.
choice. It's their
Right. So they didn't come to their conclusion the way you would like, but you're admitting the way they did come to their conclusion is within their legal authority.
right. I mean, honestly, I think that Arizona, whenever they did their looking into the election systems and stuff like that, they found evidence that there was issues. That's to fix the next go around. It's
Okay.
over and done with. I mean, you can't go back and change 2 years down the road, say who won and who lost.
Right.
I mean, honestly, Trump should let it go. That's why I'm honestly not going to vote for him. I'm not going to vote for him in 24 because I want a
Wow.
Republican in office and with the baggage that he has on his name and possible jail time from this January 6th committee, which to me is not partisan whatsoever because it's full of people that hate him.
Yeah.
Even
Well,
Cheney.
but see, this is just like with the judges, though, is that if you rule against Trump, if you criticize Trump, if you say anything bad against Trump, it has to be because you have an ulterior motive. To this day, I don't know of a single politician that has spoken publicly against Trump or criticized him that has not been called a rhino, paid off, or corrupt. Can you think of one politician on the Republican side of the aisle? We understand liberals are supposed to hate him, but Republicans, folks that he hired and appointed, not a single one of them has ever criticized him without being accused of being corrupt, bought out, or on a take. Why is that? Why is it that you can't say anything critical of him without being called a rhino or corrupt?
Well, that goes back to like it does with the left too. You have the crazies on both sides that go that direction. I have no
No,
issue
because Hillary Clinton criticized the hell out of Barack Obama during their 2007 campaign, and we were totally willing to elect her president in 2016. So I can name you plenty of folks that have criticized our former presidents, up Bill Clinton and all of them. I don't know of a single politician on the right that has criticized Trump and remains in good standing with the Republican Party. Not one.
Well, I mean, honestly, though, a lot of them that come out and say that stuff have been in office 20, 30, 40 years. Like Liz
Okay.
Cheney.
But
She,
I'm still asking the question though. Can you name a single, not one? Can you name a single politician that has criticized Trump and remains in good standing with the party?
no. I
That
mean, that's the
you
issue.
don't see an issue with that at all?
Oh, I do.
Did I lose you? Okay, I don't
Sorry,
know if
I
my
lost you.
okay. Go
I
ahead.
don't think it should be allowed for all this stuff to be pushed on social media because that's what got Trump in trouble in the first place. I think if he calls out these senators, they should be able to respond and people should be able to listen and go by how they voted on certain bills. It shouldn't be based on Trump's word because not everything that's come out of Trump's mouth is the truth.
Right. Well, I'm just simply saying that the notion that you got a president that is above reproach for the party, to me, that alone is suspect. I mean, look how many Democrats are criticizing Joe Manchin. How many Democrats are criticizing Joe Biden? We have no problem doing that on our side. And you got Trump, and it's like you got folks who had a lifelong career ahead of them. Jeb Bush, Mitt Romney, these folks, Liz Cheney, their jobs were solid. The
Well,
minute they criticized Trump, their whole careers are over with. That doesn't make sense.
I mean, honestly though, Mitt Romney and Liz Cheney, they dug their own holes before Trump even became president.
Those holes did not exist before Trump became president. Mitt Romney was a Republican nominee for president. John McCain was going to ride off into the sunset as a war hero. Jeb Bush was going to be the nominee. Their whole careers are gone simply from being on the other side of Trump.
Well, I mean, honestly, I go, like me personally, I can't speak for other MAGA supporters. Me personally, I look at how they vote and how Liz Cheney votes on bills, how Mitt Romney votes on bills.
Liz Cheney has voted in favor of Trump's agenda 96% of the time. What do you want? You want perfection?
No, I'm going by like these bills over these last few months, like the gun bills, the gun law bills. I'm against them. I'm 100% against them. She voted for them. My own senators from my state that have supported Trump have never said one thing about Trump. I've been against them. If you vote against the Constitution, I don't consider you Republican. You're supposed to be a conservative. You're supposed to be against these
Well,
unconstitutional laws.
no, if you believe that anybody going against the Constitution is not a Republican or a conservative, then how did George Bush get 2 terms when he passed the Patriot Act? How did Rudolph Giuliani become mayor in New York for so long with stop and frisk? There are plenty of constitutional violations on the right. I'm not saying the left don't do it too, particularly with the Second Amendment, but I'm talking about if you believe that somebody who does not adhere to the Constitution cannot be a conservative, I'm giving you some of the biggest name conservatives in the business that have done it.
Well, and that's the reason why I don't support them. I don't support Republicans or Democrats. I'm right
Okay.
down the middle.
All
I mean,
right.
that's how I see it. I think if you go against the Constitution, you should not be allowed to hold office. Yes, they
All
are
right.
allowed to pass laws, but whenever they're passing laws that violate constitutional amendments or try to get rid of constitutional amendments, that's where I have an issue.
That's all
Because
of them. I think that's all of them. Even Trump is on record in regards to guns, saying that if there's a mental issue, you should take away the guns and give them due process second. I mean, they all do that. I gotta move it on though. I'll give you the last word, man, but I do gotta move the show on.
well, I honestly think that we need to stop going based on left and right. I really do. We need to find somebody that's going to take care of everybody and everybody's needs and stop going by big name politicians running for office because they're going to do nothing in the end but screw us all.
Fair point. All right, man. Appreciate you coming through. I would love to have what that caller just suggested, somebody who cares about everybody, but that's not realistic because a lot of our core signature issues that we actually are the most passionate about, there is no way to satisfy everybody. If you believe that a life takes place at the moment of conception, how can you possibly satisfy the pro-choice people? If you believe that to prevent tyranny, you should be able to have the same firearms as the U.S. government, how can you actually do anything that is going to appease the folks who believe in common sense gun laws? So there is no way to satisfy everybody. I would love to have what he's talking about, and I'm sure most of you guys would too, but it's impossible. Going back to the box, I'm gonna bring Lars Queen up for a minute here. See what's going on. Dems now push grooming children. I'll never vote for another Dem. Hang on a second, Lars. Here's Johnny. You're probably talking about either CRT or particularly LGBT education in schools as grooming children. I do agree that I'm starting to see this more and more, even though I'm a liberal, particularly when listening to liberals like Bill Maher, that it is somewhat on the popularity side to be a member of the LGBT community. Even though I believe that you can be born gay, I do believe some people are literally choosing to do it because it's in right now. So I get your grooming thing. However, when you say the liberals do that, I always give the I pledge allegiance to the flag. That's grooming also, because a child doesn't know what the hell it means to pledge allegiance to a country under God. So we've been grooming all along. They're just doing it differently now. Lars, talk to me.
How do you do?
I'm doing good, doing real good.
Good. Oh, it's
Somebody said,
interesting to hear some people the way they think.
I
Uh,
don't, I don't even think there's some cases. I like to let everybody speak. Like I said, no, I don't ban any speech at all, regardless of what side of the aisle you come from. But I
yeah,
think sometimes when you're really in favor of someone, like if you like, we have a lot of African American shootings on TV. And the first thing you always hear from the mothers is, my child was a good boy. And you see this long ass rap sheet. No, your child was not a good. I think that exists with some politicians, is that we have the minds. I like this guy so much or that woman so much. I'm not going to accept anything negative on them or anything I hear somebody say that's critical of them. I'm going to treat it as suspect. That's the way a lot
yeah,
of blacks view police, and I think that's what's happening right now. Go ahead.
yeah. I I see in my life right now, especially talking to Americans. Uh, I'm trying to show them or talk to them in a way that you do to understand them, so I can try at least to change their minds.
Well, sometimes it comes out of nowhere. I mean, it catches you just like how a guy or a woman can catch, a mate at a time when they're really down in their life and really hook them in, hook, line, and sinker. I would say Trump caught a lot of Americans in that situation. I'm tired of these lifelong politicians. I'm tired of these corrupt folks. And he came along, not a politician, promising to end corruption. And sometimes a person can just catch you at the right time, no matter what kind of training you've had.
Yeah, and the lady who talked half an hour ago, like 20 minutes ago, I get what she wants, but she's doing it a little bit too rough for the MAGA listeners.
Give
They
me
would,
what? Explain that. Explain that.
yeah. The way I see it, they would just shut down and do not agree with anything she said if she yell at them
Yeah.
all the time. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's a good point, and I'm gonna let you continue, but that's a good point. I mean, obviously, with my name and my preference in talking to MAGA, I'm going to be on the opposite side of a lot of things that folks say here. But that is one thing that I always make an effort to do is never belittle the other side. So I get your point, but go ahead.
yeah, yeah. And again, from my point of view, what's going on in U.S., your political world is moving so extreme right wing politician. Even the Democrats are not doing enough about it. So it's getting dangerous for you to lose your democracy if you do not help each other. And it's the
Well,
problem is,
and the problem is, if we do lose our democracy, you understand a large portion of the world is going to follow.
yeah, it's a lot of places in the world who will not get help, and who a lot of places in the world will have a dictatorship, and it will be like Europe will be alone to try to help the rest of the world.
Yeah, it could be a mess. I don't. I think Europe would probably be in a better position than countries like, say, Taiwan and some of them. I don't, as bad as Russia may be, I don't think Russia alone has the resources to conquer Europe. If the European Union went against Russia, I think they could inflict some serious damage on the Russians. However, if China wanted to go against Taiwan or Japan, I think that they would have a much better chance at success. So I think
Yeah,
Europe might survive it, but some of those
I
countries over in Asia, they would be in a lot of trouble.
yeah, I think Europe it end up in a war with Russia. Europe would win without nuclear weapons.
Yeah. Well, there are nuclear weapons in Europe, though. I believe France. I know.
Yeah,
I know the UK has some. Yeah, I believe they
yeah,
would win, but I don't think Taiwan and Japan going up against China would be a good idea. I think that would be the region you'd see more conquering in than you would in Europe in that area over
yeah.
there.
That would mean Taiwan wants help America. If America does not help, that means Japan would help, and it will be a mess.
Yeah. It could be a mess. If we fall, we will not fall all alone. And real quick in the comments, salty potatoes, love the name. You mentioned in regards to Trump, he exposed a lot of politicians. Maybe, but I will tell you this. If you expose corruptness, but you do nothing to remove the corruptness, you really haven't helped anybody out. And at the end of the day, after 4 years in office, there has not been a lot of higher ups that have been removed from office due to Trump. So exposing it as opposed to doing something about it are two different things.
And
Uh, Yeah, you don't get the January 6th issue. You don't get those hearings and stuff over there, do you?
no, our news not are really not following what's going on. Only topics, but I do follow in YouTube.
Okay. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, you can watch. Yeah, that's right. You can watch them on YouTube. Yeah. Real quick, somebody responded by asking me how would Trump have removed the corrupt politicians? Well, first of all, by not appointing them. All of these January 6 folks that are testifying against him that you guys are calling corrupt rhinos and on the take, he appointed them. So if you're going to expose corruption, step number one, do not appoint corrupt officials. And according to all of my MAGA friends, my beloved MAGA audience, you're admitting that the entire witness bench of the January 6 hearings are corrupt. Almost all of them were appointed by President Trump. So that's step
yeah,
one to exposing corruption and getting rid of it.
yeah, exactly. And I've been talking to other TikTokers on TikTok, and I found often right-leaning TikTokers, and a lot of them agree that America is on the way to fascism, and some of them do support it.
Well, I will say this. I don't know about fascism, but I know that there's a lot of Americans that support the potential for going to a socialist government. And unfortunately, if I had to give my spiel on it, it's because too many people are suffering under capitalism. Capitalism is about capitalizing off of opportunities to make your life better, greed, all of that good stuff. The better you can do, the more you should capitalize off of opportunities. And what's happening is it works in a snowball fashion. The more money you get, the easier it is to get money. The poorer you get, the harder it is to get out of poverty. So there's so many folks now that are suffering under the capitalistic system that they're like, damn, if this is capitalism, I'm willing to try something else. And that's why I believe, at least, the calls for socialism are growing. Is that, in the socialist system, they're taxing me 70%. Capitalism, I get to keep my money. But in the socialism system, they're talking about, well, they'll pay for my schooling, they'll give me daycare, I'm guaranteed money when I retire to live off of. I can't do that shit in the capitalist system. That's what a lot of Americans are thinking, is that I'd rather you tax me 70% and I can get all of this shit I cannot get if you tax me at 30. How does
Yeah,
your system work over there?
yeah. In Greenland, we have 43% taxes in here. So school, public school, gymnasium, it's free, and hospital healthcare is free. And if I go to school, a higher educated school, I get paid to go to school from the government. I don't have to pay for anything. They will provide me with a college room to go to have a place. Everything is pretty much
Wow.
free.
Yeah. And
Even,
that's the system that apparently different forms of that exist throughout Western Europe, sounds like.
yeah, it's a Scandinavian system, but in Greenland we have a little bit more government control than the Scandinavians do. In
Yeah.
Greenland, we are much more progressive country.
Do any of you guys over there look at the American capitalistic system? Since you guys do know a lot about America, are there a lot of folks in your country saying we would rather have the system that they have in America?
No, no one will even dream of it. Oh my! Our system helps all people, everybody.
I've
So
wondered that because we often hear America's great, and if we're not so great, why do everybody want to come here? And I'm like, you don't see anybody wanting to adopt our healthcare system and things. Even with the Second Amendment, where we all have the right to have guns in this country, all of these, I mean, Brexit, all of these people are rising up in all of these countries. Nobody is rising up in regards to the free world saying we all want to have guns. They, for some reason, are okay with not having gun rights in most of the voting democratic world because they could easily rise up and fight for that.
I mean, it's for me, from my point of view, for those people who are fighting for control, they are afraid of something that's not probable or something that could happen. They It's like make believe government bad.
Yeah. Well, all right, man, I got to move it on. I appreciate you waiting. For some reason, it was moving your name around, but you know how we always do. Come on back as
Yeah.
usual.
All right. Thank you for having me.
All right, appreciate you waiting, man. Catch you later. All right. Somebody says socialism always fails eventually. So does capitalism. So does capitalism. If somebody asks, in regards to going to a socialist system, at what cost? How could you tax everybody? At what cost? Well, the cost would be you cannot be a Jeff Bezos. You cannot be a Steve Jobs. You cannot be a Bill Gates. You cannot reach that pinnacle of financial acquisition. That's not saying that if you go from the point where you can be worth unlimited wealth to you can only be worth $1 billion, you will not still be innovative and try to create shit. Because at the end of the day, most of us won't be worth $1 billion either. So there would still be plenty of innovation and plenty of technology. But a lot in this country, we've convinced ourselves that if a guy can't be Steve Jobs, that nobody's going to create shit, even though there's plenty of German engineering in our country. So, and you cannot be Jeff Bezos in Germany. So it clearly can work. We just like to dispel it. I mean, there's not a lot of Jeff Bezos in other countries, with the exception of oil sheiks and shit like that, where they just simply do not have freedom in those countries at all. Looking at the box, 770 locks. It's January 6th, a nothing burger. That's what we're talking about. It's January 6th, a nothing burger. Talk to me. 770 locks. I believe this is our first time talking, right?
Yeah, it's our first time. I seen you in what's it called? AJ's lives and stuff before. That's where I first.
Oh shit.
Yeah. They don't like me over there.
Ouch.
I
Ouch.
kind of align with you more than them, but they don't like
Okay,
me.
appreciate that. Well, I'm glad to have you here. What's on your mind today?
It's just I joined the live when not the last dude, but the one before him was in, and he was talking about how, or I'm assuming it was a dude, was talking about how these states changed their voting laws or whatever, and it goes against their constitution. And he said he looked at all the different states that were swing states, but if you look across the board, pretty much every state made some kind of change, similar changes that would go against their constitution. It's like nobody in power in Georgia, which is before the last election, had been Republican for 20, 30 years, is making a law to make the Republican candidate less likely to win. They're making it so that way everybody can vote. Literally after
Yeah,
the election, they passed laws that suppress voters a little bit more, or attempted to pass laws
yeah.
that suppress voters more. Nobody in Georgia that's in power is putting something in place like that. It was
I will
necessary.
say this. I will say this in regards to the January 6th hearings. If it's one thing that I believe that came out is that what happened on January 6th, and with Trump suggesting that the election was not held properly, was premeditated. And the reason I say that is because if you look at Trump coming down the escalator and announcing he's going to run in 2015, 2015, he stated then, it's rigged. He said it then that the election was
Mhm.
rigged. He won in 2016 and it became I won fair and square, which nobody asked, how can you win a rigged election fair and square? But anyway, he served for 4 years, loses in 2020 and says it's rigged. You were president for the last 4 years. What did you
Mhm.
do to fix the rigged election? That's the first thing. The second thing is when he endorsed Dr. Oz for Senate in Pennsylvania, he started saying it was rigged again. Dr.
Mhm.
Oz and his competition came forward and announced there is nobody cheating over here. We don't understand why he is suggesting that they are cheating in the state of Pennsylvania. And he was telling Dr. Oz to prematurely claim a victory so that he can't be cheated. So it does appear that Trump has the belief that if I don't win, I'm going to say it was not held properly and that should work in my interest. Did you see any of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. He's built a following that'll believe it when he says it too. So when he says it, they take it as fact. Everything Trump says is fact to a lot of the supporters. Obviously, not every Trump supporter believes everything Trump says is fact, but he's built a very large following that takes everything he says as fact. If Trump says it, it's there. Somebody's gonna post
Well, you know something, in regards to your comment that folks are going to believe everything he says is fact, it leads to what I've asked many of my viewers. And regardless if you think Trump did anything wrong or not, that's not the point. But the point I've tried to make to folks, just for shits and giggles, let's assume Trump actually did do something wrong. It ain't got to be an election. It could be anything. Let's assume he actually did something wrong that was criminal. Who could tell you, if Trump is saying that they're lying, who could tell you that Trump has actually committed a crime and you would genuinely believe them? Because if you don't believe the FBI, you don't believe the CIA, you don't believe the Secret Service, you don't believe the media, those are the ones that have inside access and are likely to tell you about the crimes somebody at that level committed. So if you don't believe any of them folks, who could tell you that this man committed a crime and have you actually believe him?
Well, I mean, they got him on tape multiple times, like during what was it, the first election where they had him grab him by the woman part.
Yeah.
They had him on tape doing that, and they defended it as just locker room talk. Oh, that's just how guys talk when they're around guys. Nobody sane talks like that. Nobody that is just normal talks like that, even when they're in the locker room around a bunch of guys. So I mean, like they can sit here and pull it up, show you, put the proof in your face, give you the tape, put the recording, everything in your face, and these people still aren't. Most of, not most, but a lot of them are still not going to believe it because it could be 55% don't believe it, 45% believes everything he says is true, or they it's like almost like a cult. You don't want to call them a cult because then it comes off as rude, but it's almost like a cult, like how they, like a certain amount of them, not the whole MAGA is a cult, but like the group that everything Trump says and Trump can do no wrong is like kind of like
Yeah.
cult vibes.
Well, I don't, and I absolutely would not suggest that everybody's a cult because I get a lot of MAGA folks on here. I think a couple callers back, I had a MAGA guy that said he wouldn't vote for Trump because of potential corruption. So, yeah, of course, they're not all a cult. But I will say this, if you had your opinion about what happened on January 6th made up by the evening of January 6th, yeah, you're not being biased. I mean, you're not being unbiased. You're being biased. Because the evening of January 6th, nobody had all of the details. So if you had already made your mind up that very evening that Trump was innocent or guilty, you're not being unbiased. You're being biased because you need to have some of the facts come out. And one of the biggest problems right now, and I'm going to take it in the direction of Hillary Clinton's missing emails, the conversation from Trump's media devices is missing. His phone calls, there's no information for what Trump was actually doing with his phone calls or anything during the time that was happening. So just like with Hillary Clinton's missing emails being scrubbed or whatever, it appears that Trump did the same thing. Even when it comes to photographs, the photographer testified that they told the photographer she couldn't even film the guy. So they did a Hillary Clinton's emails during that January 6th event.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. I talked to Trump supporters on like basically the day on January 6th, and I was like, okay, you don't think like Trump has something to do with this? And they're like, no, all those people that went in there and did all that, they deserve to go to jail. They're not real like conservatives. They don't care about, like, they just want to mess things up. And now we come a year and a half later, and all this stuff is coming out, and they're having the hearings and everything, and it's looking more and more like Trump was more and more involved in everything, and they're still sticking with Trump. Like, there's honestly nothing you can do to waive them from sticking with Trump at this point. Like, even the guy who said he won't vote for Trump, he still supports Trump because of his policies. But at what point does the dude trying to overthrow the government, if they haven't technically proved that yet, but it looks more and more likely every day as the hearings go on that he had something to do with it. He had something to do with planning it, or the people around him, and he knew about it. As the president, if you know
Well,
about it, you have to do
and
something
see,
about it.
I agree with that, but the problem is Like if you get a guy who's accused of being in a mob or dealing a large quantity of drugs, and they take him to trial or something like this, and all of the members of his organization are testifying, yeah, he had me perform a hit on his rival over there or deliver a couple kilos at the border over here. If you kept presenting lieutenant after lieutenant after lieutenant and bodyguard against a person, we would convict that person almost every time. But the
Mhm.
problem with Trump is because there are so many people that have a preconceived notion that Trump is innocent, it doesn't matter who you put on the witness stand. They're going to discredit the person that's bought out. I
I
mean,
think
because most of the witnesses coming forward are Trump's appointees, people that are in his inner circle. But they just keep dismissing all of these people as corrupt, bought out, and not truthful.
yeah, and then that with the what was it? What the lady, the young woman, I forget her name.
Yeah, I
She was
know.
on the south,
I cannot
and
think of
they
her name
tried to
right now,
say
but yeah.
everything that she was up there lying. And then what was it? Last night, I think the January 6th committee said they have proof that what happened in the limo actually happened in the limo now, or something like that.
They'll just say
And they,
the video was doctored or was edited or something like
Mhm.
that. I mean, and that's the problem is that if you truly are in the camp for Trump, it goes back to my original statement. Who could tell you he did something wrong and you would actually, I mean, no matter what you show me as proof, I can always find a way to dismiss it.
Yeah.
And if you really care about the guy, you're going to find a way to dismiss that.
Hmm.
I mean, even when his daughter came forward and said, "Yeah, I trusted what Jim Barr said was correct." Well, his daughter is not really that political, and she don't really know what she's talking about. Okay, then why does she have a White House job then?
Hmm.
I don't know. I got to move it on, though, man. I got to move it on.
All right, appreciate you.
Absolutely. Catch you later. All right. Comment. So funny. What is it? So funny. There's more black conservatives than liberals now. That's not true. Remember, there was supposed to be hashtag walkaway when Trump was going to be reelected in 2020, all of the African Americans were going to walk away. I will say this, shout out to Trump for actually addressing the black community. He did receive more African American votes than many of his predecessors like Bush and Reagan and Romney and McCain. So shout out to him for doing that. Keep in mind, Trump did have a favorable rating among African Americans before becoming president. Probably because he identified as a Democrat for quite a bit of his life. But the walkaway movement was a farce. At the end of the day, I think Trump got maybe 30% of the black vote, which is still high. That is still high compared to Bush, Reagan, and the rest of them, but it's nowhere near 50. Looking at the box. Anyone who would vote for a liberal is an enemy of America. Damn. Okay, that's pretty strong. I would love to get you in the box and elaborate with you. Bloody Mingo, like the name. Anyone that would vote for a liberal is an enemy of America. Wow. They did deserve to go to jail for breaking the law. And I thought he said they were patriots and he loved them. Let me go back to the box. I don't want to talk too long. DJ Fly Guy. I got a few more minutes to party with you guys. DJ Fly Guy, talk to me. What's going on?
Hey man, what's up? What's up?
Turn it up. Okay.
What's
What's going
good? What's
on?
good? What's good? What's
I like
good?
that. I got to get me an air raid siren. I like that. What's going on?
Oh man, this January 6th thing, man. It's a everything burger, and I'm gonna tell you why. It's
Hey, look,
because
before you do that, hey folks, before you do that, I'm trying to get to 10,000 likes, and I'm nowhere near that. Tap your screens, goddammit. This is good material, good content. I'm letting MAGA talk just like my liberals.
right.
Talk to me, DJ.
All right, so the thing is it's showing everybody in America who really has the power. Because if this was a Democrat or anybody else that done this, with the January 6th, stood there and didn't do anything and all that stuff, Republicans would have been ballistic, and that person probably would have been locked up before they proved their innocence. Donald
Yeah.
Trump's innocence is being proven before he's locked up, or his guilt is being proven before he's locked up. So they're just
Yeah.
showing you. And see, that's what people love about Republicans. Republicans don't give a damn about your feelings. They don't give a damn about what you think. They don't care uh, about due process when it comes down to what they want to happen. Republicans are going to go all in. They're going to show their guts. They're going to show their balls. They're going to show their strength. And they get the job done. And that's what most conservatives and Republicans love about the Republican Party, because they show just how tough they are. They put everything on the line. Democrats,
Well,
they like,
I'm okay with it. I'm fine with a patriot putting everything on the line. In fact, I would view that person as a hero if they're doing it for a good cause. I don't want you putting everything on the line to defend an election that wasn't taken, though.
that's yeah. But that's, you know, that's the disconnect. You know, that's why I don't understand how America even allowed Donald Trump to even become president in the first place, because everything of America's been preaching before Donald Trump was to be the person that Donald Trump, to not be the person that Donald Trump is. I remember when Liz Cheney said, or not Liz Cheney, what's the lady name that starts with a H? Her last name starts with a H, I think. She's a senator in Alabama, I think, or Virginia.
I'm clueless in that one.
I can't think of her name right now, but she even said that we teach our children to be everything that Donald Trump is. That we teach our children not to be everything that Donald Trump is. So they recognize who this guy is. They recognize
You know, it's a good.
his
I get what you. Are you talking about Nikki Haley? Somebody said Haley, but
Nikki Haley.
okay,
Yep, Nikki Haley.
you make a good point in regards to they did criticize the hell out of Trump on two
In the
occasions.
beginning. Yeah,
One being when he was campaigning with the other 16, 17 other candidates. I believe they were calling him a racist. I think Lindsey Graham had some pretty strong words for him, and Marco Rubio and even Ted Cruz called him a bigot and all kinds of stuff. The
right.
second time they criticized him pretty heavily was on the evening of January 6th. But in both cases, the moment they realized he was the man and was going to have all the power, they
Yeah,
caved and did a 180-degree turn. So it
absolutely.
makes them look like sellouts, is because you speak in this way and not
Yep.
you over here. I mean, you just, yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah.
But those are the two
I,
times that I can think of where a lot of Republicans criticized Trump pretty heavy, is during his campaign in 2015 and January 6th that evening.
but tell me this: what group of people actually convinced, or what group of people stood behind him so much that Lindsey Graham and all the rest of them realized they didn't have a win, that they had to
The
choose
voters,
sides?
Trump has an incredible love, adoration from vote. MAGA voters are loyal as fuck. The
Yeah,
voters are the ones that
exactly.
standing behind him.
That's right. So once they knew they didn't have a win, they had to stand beside him, and that's the one thing I
But
don't
that's not
understand.
how
Like,
it's supposed. You're 100% right, but that's not how it's supposed to be. How it's supposed to be is what Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger is doing. Regardless
yeah,
if you think Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger are full of shit or not, at the
yep,
end of the day, they're standing by their convictions and are willing to lose their careers to do so.
yeah,
What Lindsey
and
Graham and
neighborhoods.
Ted Cruz and all of them are doing is saying, if it benefits me, I'll do that, regardless if it's for the country or not, because I'm going to follow whatever leads me to remain in power. So I would give Liz Cheney and Kissinger a
Yeah,
lot more credit than somebody like Ted Cruz or those
yeah,
guys, because they're doing it for an opportunistic standpoint.
yeah. Because they're not handcuffed anymore. I mean, you got some of these people out here that are really not handcuffed, but They live in the neighborhood. They done dug their feet in the sand so deep that they can't backtrack because they're going to get driven out of their neighborhoods. They're going to lose the status that they got. They're going to lose the little bit of white privilege that they have. And they just handcuffed. They want to do what's right, but they can't. A lot of them
Well,
can't do what's right. So they just go
and
quiet.
I will add to that because I see Jonathan in the comments, delusional liberals. Let me just say this. How many of you MAGA folks who are truly down with the MAGA cause, that think Lindsey Graham is a traitor, is a piece of shit? Same thing with Ted Cruz. Even a lot of MAGA folks admit this dude is not trustworthy. Yeah, he's down with Trump. He is a fair weather friend. I believe that's what one MAGA viewer once told me in regards to Lindsey Graham and people like Ted Cruz. He called him a fair weather friend. In other words, when things are good, he's down with us. If the chips fall in the wrong direction, this dude will be on TV testifying against us just like the rest of them. And so when you say
Absolutely.
delusional, I'm not criticizing Trump on this. I'm saying there is a lot of members in the Republican Party that is just simply there to ride Trump's coattails. The minute Trump is no longer president, whether it's because of the January 6 hearings or because he completed a second term, they're going to be writing books and all kinds of shit criticizing Trump to make a buck. And you guys
Yeah.
know that on the MAGA side. Go ahead.
Yeah. And they won't. I listen. This is what will change my mind about a lot of conservatives and Republicans. Stop spewing out the same stuff we've already heard. Stop calling us delusional. Stop saying we're sheep. Stop saying we're snowflakes and all kind of. We've heard that. You keep
Well,
you
you don't
keep.
like being called. Well, I'm in defense of them. They don't like being called a racist all the time either. So it happens on both
Well,
sides.
I mean, I don't call every conservative racist, and I don't call them bigots. I don't use the same rhetoric. Like, I think for myself. I call people how I see them. But when you start repeating the same old thing over and over and over again, that means you're watching the same channel, you're listening to the same news, you're just repeating, you're just throwing up what you've already heard. Give me something new to think about. Give me a new truth. Give me something else, and you just might get a legitimate conversation out of me instead of just calling me the same old thing
Well,
over and over and over
let
again.
me play devil's advocate. Let me pretend like for a quick second that I'm representing MAGA. I got to order
Okay,
another hat. My hat is getting beat up. But let me just, and I want you to give me your spiel. I'm going to come to you from the right side of the aisle.
okay,
What the hell happened to Dave Chappelle yesterday pissed me the fuck off. They
okay,
canceled his show. He had a show scheduled to perform at the same venue that Prince did Purple Rain. I cannot think of the name of it right now, but the same venue. And they canceled the show because 125 LGBT members collected signatures, and they complained because obviously Dave Chappelle has a history of criticizing that community. And they canceled an A-list comedian like Dave Chappelle. That to me is liberalism, certainly in regards to the LGBT community gone wrong. And this is what I said. I made a YouTube video about it. For anybody want to watch my damn YouTube channel, The Handsome Liberal on YouTube, plugging myself. But anyway, I made a video and I suggested there is absolutely nothing wrong with being gay. Be who you are. But don't then turn around and tell a comedian he has no right to be who he is. That is liberalism. The right wing has nothing to do with that. That is us fucking up against us. Would you not agree with that?
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, the reason why the venue got canceled is because them people going to protect their bottom line. They're not going to let you
But
mess
it's
up their money.
liberals. It is liberals costing them money. They had a sold out Dave Chappelle show that they had to give up because they got attacked by a bunch of liberals
Okay,
trying
you
to
sell out.
suppress the comedian.
Okay, you sell out that once, but what's going to happen when you got another venue coming up and gay people want to go to that one?
I'm just simply saying gay people doing this to folks is wrong. Why can't a comedian tell who among us is so high and mighty that they are above being joked about. You go to a
Nobody.
black comedy show, go see Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer. How many white people are the butt of jokes at black comedy events? You don't see white people acting like that. So
No.
I'm just simply saying what the LGBT crowd is doing, and they're mainly consistent of liberals, is outrageous, and they need to
It
be
ain't
held accountable for that.
it ain't gonna last long. It ain't gonna last long because everybody is gonna be just like you are right now. Come on, man. Like that's a little bit too much. Y'all being a little bit too sensitive about everything. But you know, when you got racial tension and you got racism involved in it and stuff like that, that's that's above the line. But uh black jokes and white jokes, I laugh at some black jokes. I laugh at some white jokes. You know what I'm saying? Because I
But
understand
you don't
that it's
see you don't see those communities doing what the LGBT. You don't see white people
right,
because
right,
somebody got up and made jokes about them trying to cancel venues and shit like that.
right, right. No, you don't see that, and they
Yeah.
are taking this a little bit too far. But I mean, like I said, the people at that stadium or that venue is going to protect their bottom line because they know it's not
Right.
going to
I
be
get
they,
that. I get that. But they
yeah.
shouldn't have to. By the way, the venue is called, I believe it's called Fifth Avenue in Minnesota. Real quick, in the
Okay.
comments, TikTok Grandpa asked me, how do I know they're liberals? The LGBT community, you're going to ask me, how do I know they're liberals? Gays for Trump? Are you for real? Overwhelmingly, liberals, I mean, overwhelmingly, the LGBT community is liberals. Why the hell would you be LGBT in concerned about LGBT issues and vote Republican? Now, if you in favor of the economy or gas prices or something else, we can argue that. But if you truly are in favor of same-sex marriage, make no mistake about it. They just codified marriage rights 2 days ago. And out of the 213 Republican members of Congress, 47 of them voted in favor of same sex marriage rights, which means 80% of them almost voted against it. Why would you be an LGBT member voting right when they don't even believe you should have a right to get married? So that's how I know it's liberals.
That's because both. That's because the LGBT or however them letters go. That's because they know that half of the Republicans that's voting no are in the closet anyway. They just ain't coming out. Lindsey Graham in the damn closet all day long. If that motherfucker they ain't queer, they know they in the closet any goddamn way. They just got to put on a
Oh
damn
my God.
front.
You telling me Lindsey Graham got a little fudge on her
Hell
front
yeah,
packet?
Lindsey Graham. I saw you say I'm just bullshitting. I don't know.
Oh my
I can't
God.
tell you who is gay and who ain't gay. I mean I can't look at nobody and tell you if they're gay or not. But I'm just bullshitting. Lindsey,
You telling me when Lindsey Graham shook Trump's hand, he like, damn, my boo
I
got some
know
big hands.
he might
My boo
I
got some
remember
big hands.
Hey, I remember when Lindsey Graham sat across the table from Donald Trump during one of the first televised meetings between the Republicans after he became president, and Lindsey Graham just sounded so weak and so frail. He was like, "And Mr. President, you have a chance here to," and I was just like, "Wait a minute." A week ago, you was calling him a damn uh
Yeah, he's an he's an opportunist too. And I say that not coming from just a liberal side. I've talked to enough MAGA that, like I said, a fair weather friend. Lindsey Graham is definitely an opportunist. He is not
yeah,
down
yeah,
for MAGA. He is down to stay in power. If he
yeah,
can vote for someone else that will keep him in power, he would dish MAGA in a minute. Lindsey Graham
yeah.
ain't down for the cause. I gotta move on though, man.
Okay,
This has been hilarious.
I got one more point,
Go,
and then I'm
go,
gonna move on
go.
to all the white people and conservatives listening right now. Mega conservatives and white people. Let me explain something to y'all. The things that you want out of people in the United States: hard work, earning your way, pulling your weight. There are a lot of other people out here, brown, red, yellow, whatever color you want to say. We want the same thing. Everything that you're fighting for, all the right things that you're fighting for, we want the same thing. We just don't want anyone to bullshit us. Stop bullshitting us. Let's all fight for the same thing and we can all move forward. We don't hate you guys. There's nothing about you that we want to destroy you. We just want to be treated as equals. That's it. Give us the
Fair enough.
same opportunity.
Much love. I love it. Catch you later,
All
DJ.
right, man. Yes, sir,
All
man.
right. Yeah.
All right.
In regards to his comment about African Americans wanting the same thing and wanting equality, yeah, I mean, I obviously agree with that as well. However, I will say this, and I don't want anybody to take offense about it, but at the end of the day, free speech, you guys know how we do it here. It's always free speech. When you are on top, sharing sharing resources, employment, housing, it does not feel like equality. It feels like you are taking a back seat. And that, I believe, coming from your humble correspondent, is why there has always been a fight against equality, is because of, if I know that if I apply for a police officer's position and only people like me can get that position, well, if we go to a society based on equality, well, my competition is now much greater. I didn't used to have to compete with all of these damn people. So that is probably why there's always been a resistance to equality, is because it doesn't feel like equality. It feels like you're taking a back seat. And if you really look at in society right now, what is one of the groups that's really complaining the loudest that they're being marginalized? White males. They're complaining that, we're being replaced and all. Well, because the situation is changing. I understand it. I'm not defending it, but I do understand it, is that if you're on top and now you're in the middle, it does not feel the same anymore. You don't feel like you're in the middle. You almost feel like you're in the damn bottom. I got to go back to work like everybody else. Follow the channel, guys. As you can see, we do this every day. We try to make sure everybody gets to talk. I don't ban or block anybody. I got Rep 8319 in the comments all day, every day, criticizing me. My boy, here's Johnny, another strong MAGA supporter. According to him, every damn thing I say is stupid. I would love to get both of those guys into the box. I respect their opinion and would love to hear from them. If you guys get up to your 1,000 or whatever, you're invited in the box. I love talking to MAGA, and MAGA always tears me a new one. I love it. Anyhow, follow the channel. Catch you guys later. I'll be on tonight at 7. We're going to finish this up. You guys have a real good time.